If you're anything like me, you will have spent the last week or so obsessing about ChatGPT and how many jobs it's going to take, and whether or not it's going to take your job, and whether or not it's generally a good thing for humanity or not. And I thought I'd do a video just on the latest report that OpenAI have released about the impact they believe ChatGPT, GPT-4, is going to have on a wide variety of different occupations. Now, for knowledge workers, it doesn't make for great reading, but I will go on to run through a few reasons why I think that all hope is not lost, and that there are some reasons to be cheerful in all of this. Not least the kind of innovation and productivity gains that I've spoken about in previous videos. But I will show you now some of the levels of exposure that OpenAI think different occupations are going to have. So the alpha ones here are exposures to ChatGPT. The other two are GPT-powered software. So as you can see, public relations specialists, survey researchers, writers, authors, interpreters, public relations specialists, mathematicians, tax preparers, correspondence clerks, blockchain engineers, all have a high degree of exposure. So one of the more interesting ones I thought was search engine strategists, coming in at a high variance, which means obviously, as you can imagine, it means that there will be some that are really impacted, others that aren't. So clearly, lots of knowledge work here. The kind of main takeaway from the report is that high earners typically are going to be more impacted by ChatGPT, and certainly knowledge workers. So this really doesn't have any impact at all on manual workers, laborers, tradesmen, all of that kind of stuff. Really not affected at all, as you can imagine. So they come right down at the bottom of the lists of impact. So another interesting thing to pull out is that scientists and critical thinkers generally tend to be less impacted, which kind of makes sense because GPT really is just an amalgamation of all of the human knowledge that's already been written down, that it's been trained on. And so if you're a scientist, your job really is to find out new stuff. And so GPT is not going to have a clue about the new thing that you're trying to discover or that you're trying to, make happen, because it hasn't happened yet and you haven't discovered it yet. So there's no reference point for it to build into its large language model. So really interesting. I do think that it's not really time to panic if you are kind of one of those listed occupations. It's just talking about whether 50% of the tasks will be susceptible to be automated. Now, obviously, at a large scale, that probably does mean that some jobs won't exist in 5 years' time, but there will still be people working in those industries. So I think that a lot of the more boring stuff will get automated, but it also means that delivery will just be able to be supercharged. Developers might be developing numerous websites for you rather than just one landing page for the same kind of investment of time. And it means that they can be more creative and do more exciting stuff because a lot of the laborious, boring stuff will be automated. So in terms of reasons to think that AI isn't going to eat the world just yet, I do think, first of all, I feel like capitalism might kind of save us a little bit here. You're starting to see now GPT and Google's version, Bard, being integrated into software a bit more. So Copilot, Microsoft. So Copilot being Microsoft is kind of trying to integrate it everywhere now. So in its Office 365 software. So if you think about actual day-to-day workflows in a lot of digital marketing jobs, you're working with different companies and different APIs. Namely, in my job, particularly working a lot with Google and a lot with LinkedIn, Microsoft. And so it's unlikely that those two are going to make it easy for the other one's AI to interact with its software, because it gives that one a competitive advantage. So if Google were to say, okay, OpenAI's ChatGPT, which obviously has lots of investment from Microsoft, we're going to make it easy for ChatGPT to run your Google campaigns. That would be giving a competitive advantage to Microsoft's AI. And then likewise, LinkedIn wouldn't be incentivized to say, okay, I'm going to let Google's AI run all of your LinkedIn campaigns. So there is going to be space in the middle for consultancy to not just to understand the different platforms, but also understand the different AIs and also understand which ones are better suited for which tasks, and to consult with people on how best to operate them. So if you're in marketing, if you're a digital marketing agency or client side, I would suggest that getting to grips with all of these different AIs is a good move, because this brings me on to my second point. Decision making is always going to be human. The second we start outsourcing our decision making to the AIs, that's when we're really in trouble. So I don't think that will happen anytime soon. I think the AI doesn't. GPT is amazing at writing stuff for you, finding stuff for you, but you still need to know what to ask it to get, and then you still need to decide on whether or not to use it. And as I've discussed in previous videos, it does get stuff wrong. And they've said, that there's a lot of commentary about this. As you get to the higher echelons of knowledge work, when you're getting into sort of science, data science territory, it has what they're starting to call hallucinations, where, as with GPT 3.5, it says stuff very confidently that may not be true. So this is still a problem. So you are still going to have humans in the loop to make decisions on whether to use the outputs of GPT. And before that, to tell GPT what it is that you want, to decide on what your strategy is going to be, and then ask the AI about how it can help you deliver against it. So the executive function in decision making still needs to remain, and will remain, I believe, very much human. Ditto original ideas. So likewise with the science and critical thinking occupations, you're still going to have people coming up with original ideas, because GPT, as I've said, is just a summation of all of the existing ideas that it's been trained on. So it's still going to be people pushing us forward. We're just going to be turbocharged by AI. I think everyone's going to have access to it. I think, as I've said before, I think we're going to use it as frequently as we use spell checkers now. But the ideas and the decisions on where we're going will remain human, and I think they have to. And then finally, I think if you think before the Facebook era, the idea of having a social media manager as a job was, nobody would have thought that, much less a career. And many of us have kind of made careers in social media. So I think that this is going to spawn a whole new load of different types of jobs and careers that we probably can't even conceive of now. And potentially, could be a really, really exciting future. Just if you just think about the volume of output one individual can now deliver, and scale that up over an organization, you can really make incredible stuff happen, I think. So there's a lot to be optimistic about. The jobs report is slightly concerning when you look at those levels of exposure of lots of jobs that we all know and love. A lot of the work that we do now probably is going to get automated over time, but I do think there are plenty of reasons to be excited about the level of innovation that we're going to see over coming months and years. It's going to be a wild ride, that's for damn sure. So that's it from me this week. I will see you next week. Bye.